Today, our Kansas Jayhawks kick off Big 12 play as we start at home facing off against the 3-0 Utah Utes. And then we're headed on the road to Tempe, Arizona, facing off against the struggling Sun Devils, who have not picked up where they left off from last year, nearly winning the Big 12 championship. Should be interesting to see how our team fares given our success in the non-conference slate, as we're currently 3-0, ranked number 5 in the nation. I wouldn't say it was a smooth road getting to 3-0, but we will take wins however we can get them, getting us set for our Big 12 slate, and I think our in-conference schedule this year is going to be really hard. Utah's legit. Arizona State, they're only 1-2, but they made the conference championship a year ago. UCF won the conference a year ago. Arkansas coming from the SEC. Kansas State's 0-3, but we know they're going to play as tough. I think Colorado's going to be better than expected, and then, of course, Florida State. Pretty much everybody in our conference schedule is quite good, which should make things rather interesting. Of course, last episode, though, we did not play any games, but we went over our recruiting special, highlighting all of these talented young players on the recruiting board, and of course, we'll talk a little bit more about recruiting towards the middle of today's episode after our first matchup against Utah. And I think what's kind of interesting about this matchup, obviously being at home, we've got a few guys visiting for the first time this season. Running back Drew Page, defensive tackle David Ibarra, and cornerback Lane Aragon. Utah is considered a lower tier opponent, even though they are 3-0. I guess our ranking proves to certainly matter in that sense, as does the point differential, which we had them beat pretty comfortably. With Utah's 3-0 record, they've been squeaking by, and it's not like they've played that hard of a schedule. They barely beat Wyoming. NC State on the road is a good win, but then they only beat an FCS opponent here by 7. Despite that, I'm not taking these guys lightly at all. They know how to win football games, and it's been consistent with this program over the last decade plus. Not to mention, they had the highest-rated quarterback in the conference, and I think their in-conference schedule is really easy. Other than us, I think they're better than just about everybody else on this schedule for the most part. Maybe not Cincinnati, maybe not one of the other teams late, but for the most part, I think Utah has a very favorable schedule, and because of that, I don't want to fall behind in the standings. Isaac Wilson, the redshirt junior, leads the way at quarterback. We're going to be talking about him in the upcoming prospect profile at the quarterback position. I think given his struggles last year, though, I really see him as a day 3 guy right now, but I think he's the most talented quarterback, arguably in the conference. I believe he is the highest-rated quarterback in the conference. And 2 years ago, as a redshirt freshman, he was dotting us up. Mike Mitchell and Devin Thomas lead the running back room. Nico Wynn headlines the receiving corps. And they've got a really good group of linebackers. They usually do. And that's the case again this season. We are going to make some changes in terms of our red shirts. We've been rotating in and out some of these freshman defensive linemen. Kyrie Brower has played 2 games, as has Greg Von Oelhoffen. But we're going to have neither of them play today. Dylan Countess, meanwhile, will get some snaps. He's rated a little bit lower than both of them, but I'm really intrigued by his skill set. I want to get him on the field more. He has not played since the James Madison matchup back in week 1. So let's get this show on the road. Big 12 play is here, and our goal is to win the conference this season. It is not going to be easy making the playoffs as an at-large team in this conference. Granted, we've already done it twice, but I certainly don't want to bank on that again, especially with a very hard in-conference schedule where a lot of these games are going to be quite losable. So we've got to start by winning these 2 today. Here's Mitchell inside, up the middle, gets popped by Brandon Hines, but not before getting the first down. Mitchell coming off a nearly 100-yard game a week ago. 2nd and 11 here for the Utes with a man in motion. They'll go back to him, up the middle, breaks another tackle, and gets another first down. That was Devin Murphy who had some trouble bringing him down. Utah running the ball well early here on the opening possession. Wilson, his pass is caught. Broken tackle inside the 40 with a big hit by Damani Maxon laying the boom. But a nice grab there and a nice play after the catch by David Washington. Screen on 2nd and 9 for Darrell Alexander. Whoop! Juke move inside the red zone, past the 15 to around the 12. Isaac Wilson's been impressive on this opening drive. He's looking like his older brother, Zach Wilson. On first down with Mitchell in motion, Isaac Wilson goes short. It's caught, and that is a touchdown. I don't know what Quantavius Landers was doing at the end of the play. I guess he was trying to jar the ball out, but Darrell Alexander made a miss, and he went flying. So Utah marches right down the field and scores. The Kansas defense has been very impressive so far this year, but it's going to be harder in Big 12 play, a conference that heavily favors the offensive side of the ball. Poole on third down, rolls out, looking to run with it. Juke move, gets the first down to the 50. Clyde Poole was not able to get much as a scrambler last week against Michigan, and has been quiet for his standards as a runner so far, but I'm expecting that to change in conference play. Short throw, Rajon Jones converts here on third down as Isaiah Lamore, the tight end, is hurt on the play, grabbing at what looks like his hamstring. 2nd and 10, looking to throw up the middle, the strike for Amani Law, who's able to hold on to the ball. Law with only 8 catches over the first 3 weeks of the year, but again, I think we're going to be able to favor him more, being able to open up the playbook with playing against Big 12 defenses as Cornell Teamer makes it to the 5. Teamer leads the team in rushing through the first 3 weeks of the year. 1st and goal. Poole steps up, scrambles, runs it, and he's in! Clyde Poole takes it himself. His 2nd rushing touchdown of the year. Kansas marches down the field and responds with a touchdown of their own. We're knotted up at 7. We're expecting a lot of offense in this game, and so far both teams living up to the billing. 3rd and 10 for Utah. Wilson looks to throw it down the seam! Wide open is David Washington! Maxson will not catch up until the end! A long touchdown for Utah, 80 yards for the redshirt junior David Washington, and Utah is right back ahead. Our defense has been fantastic this year, but I don't know what's going on so far today. I expected it was going to get harder in conference play, but this has been ugly. Looking at a 3rd and 8 now. Poole looks to throw it under pressure. Rolls out. Can't escape! And he's brought down by Oscar Aitman, who ate him in the backfield. The junior with the sack. Utah gets it back. Play action. Wilson up the middle. That one is hauled in for a first down. What a catch by Nico Wynn. Isaac Wilson now over 1,000 passing yards on the year. He hit that on the touchdown by Washington, to be specific. 14-7 through 1. Utah averaging 16 yards per play. This is not the same defense we've seen the first 3 weeks of the season. But I also did not expect it to be this bad. I mean, it has been pretty horrific so far. The run defense has not been good. The pass defense has been a train wreck. There's the freshman, Dylan Countess, with the tackle for loss. Love to see him getting in there, making a play in run defense as it's now a 3rd and 9. Wilson looks to throw it under some pressure, and he throws it away. Seth Jennings leads the cavalry, the junior with 3 sacks this year, matching his total from last season as the Jayhawks get it back on 3rd down. Poole looking short. It's caught, 1st and more. Amani Law past the 35, and the sophomore from Duncanville, Texas, keeps the chains moving. 3rd and 2, play action. Here is Poole, scrambles around, looking for the sideline. It's hauled in! Amani Law again with the first down. A quick start for Law. I wanted to get him the ball more, and so far we're doing so. Into the red zone. Poole, no time to throw it. Unblocked, off the blitz. John Henry Daly with the sack, as it is now a 2nd and 17. Poole under pressure. Fumble, that ball's out, and it's scooped up by the defense. It's Daly again, who comes in from the back, rips the ball away, and recovers it himself. What a play by John Henry Daly. This guy is an animal. On back-to-back plays, he gets a sack, and then a fumble forced from behind, and recovery. So Utah forces a turnover in the red zone. That's just the 2nd turnover from Poole this year, 1st fumble, and we're going to make a switch. Calvin Clements is getting abused, and I want to see what the freshman Kenyon Denbo can do. Utah gets it back, still 14-7. Nowhere to go on the option for Wilson. It's the true freshman, Afa G, the 5-star. I feel like he's gotten more and more comfortable as the year has gone along. 3rd and 14. Under pressure, it's Dekias Brinkley in the backfield with the sack inside the 5, and the Utes have to punt it away again. Under 3 minutes left in the first half, Kansas only with 7 points. That is not enough in this conference. Pool's going to go short. He's got an open man. It's Cornell Teamer who gets the first down. I will say, Clyde Poole has thrown the ball very well so far. He had some good scrambles on the opening drive, but ever since then, he has not been good as a runner. As you can see there, he runs right into the sack. Xavier Miles with maybe the easiest QB takedown you will ever see. Clyde Poole just looks like he has happy feet as a scrambler. I don't know what's going on. But he's making all the throws as Amani Law makes it a 4th and 5. It'd be a long field goal. We're not in punting range, so we're going to go for it. Poole will look to throw it, goes short, and it is hauled in. Nice grab by Isaiah Lamore, the trusty tight end, for the first down. 2nd and 18 after a penalty. Here is Poole, clean pocket with a strike. Amani Law nearly gets the first down. Law has been just about uncoverable so far for this defense. 3rd and inches, handoff for the freshman Nicholas Scotland-Williamson, and he gets the first down. But this one is coming back. This offensive line is too undisciplined. It's been a problem with this team for years, but I feel like especially this season in particular, feels like there's a penalty every time we get a big run. 3rd and 7 now. Poole takes his time, has Amani Law with space, breaks a tackle, and he's in! Amani Law, what a first half for the sophomore with over 100 yards. And now he's in for a score. We are tied at 14. Very impressive drive from Clyde Poole and the offense battling against the clock. Our offense needed some points. We hadn't scored since the opening possession, and we get them there with Amani Law, who's been the best player on the field so far in this game. Utah has had no answers for him, and now the Utes are going to get it back very late in the first half, as on first down, they will ultimately just run the ball. Mitchell losing yardage. Mo Nwokeji brings him down, and that'll wrap up the first half here in Lawrence, Kansas. Utah's making it a good one. We're knotted up at 14. On one hand, I don't like how the defense played, especially early, but it was a lot better in the second quarter. And our starting defense has allowed 0 points after halftime this year. Granted, they did not play against James Madison, but point remains. They get better as the game went along. As for the offense, I have no clue how to feel about Clyde Poole's performance because on one hand, he's been unbelievably good as a passer. 13 for 16, 147 yards and a touchdown. He's feeding Amani Law, who's been unguardable. 6 catches, 101 yards and a touchdown. But on the flip side, Clyde Poole has been abysmal as a runner. This is very unlike him. He struggled in the Michigan game, but I assumed, it was Michigan. This is a lot more inexcusable. He's making bad decisions. It looks like he's lost a little juice in the pocket. 9 carries, -1 yards for Clyde today. But the entire team really isn't running it all that well. Teamer loses a yard. 6 carries, 21 yards for Teamer. 4 carries, 10 yards for Ty Lord. 3rd and 14. Poole scrambles with it, looking to run for the first down. There we go. That's a good scramble. He doesn't get the first down, but it looks like he was actually running with a purpose there. Nonetheless, Utah gets the stop. They get it back. Wilson hands it off. This is Devin Thomas. Spin move. Breaks a tackle. Still up. Gets a block. And he's gone. What a run for Devin Thomas. Looking like beast mode. 53 to the crib for the redshirt sophomore. And Utah regains the lead. An unbelievable run for Devin Thomas. That looked like Devin Neal when he was a senior here. With the spin move and the broken tackle, that was unbelievable. We had about 7 chances defensively to finish that play. This is inexcusable. We've got to bring him down. Horrible, piss-poor tackling in the back end. So the Utes are back on top, 21-14. In the Big 12, you're going to have to throw counter punches. We'll see if the offense can get one. 3rd and 10. Poole's going to run with it again. Another solid scramble, but he doesn't get the first down. 2 drives, 0 second half first downs for the Jayhawks. 2nd and 10. Here's Thomas again, this time going backwards. Roddy Orr leads the way. Mo Nwokeji was there as well. And it's now a 3rd and 13. We cannot let Utah make it a multi-score lead. Defense has got to come up big. Here is Wilson under pressure. Hit as he throws by Roddy Orr as the pass is incomplete. And Kansas gets it back with plus field position. Perfect chance to tie the game on 3rd down. Scotland-Williamson is close. He's a yard shy, and when you're this close, you know the Jayhawks will go for it. Up the middle, Jazir Tolbert. Whoop! Nice move. It looked like Utah was not expecting a run up the middle. I don't know what else they thought was coming. Big Ja with the big first down, and Kansas has it in the red zone. On first down, here's Poole. Going short, Rajon Jones weaves his way through defenders, waltzes in for a touchdown. We're tied. Rajon Jones, the sophomore from Washington, D.C., is in for the touchdown, and we are knotted up at 21 apiece. So Kansas is able to respond with an answer. We'll see if Utah can do the same. They've been effective throwing the ball, but they haven't thrown it much. Wilson only completed 5 passes in the first half, but he averaged 30 yards per completion. There's David Washington with the first down. He leads the way in yards with 124. Late in the third, screen for Donnell Alexander. Spin move, gets it to around the 50, and that'll wrap up the third. For us being the number 5 team in the nation, it's not ideal that our first in-conference game, Utah's got us on high alert. 21-21 going into the fourth. The Utes are averaging over 9 yards per play still, not as high as it was, but still not good, as it's a 2nd and 2. Wilson keeps it himself, and he is going backwards. That is Kerry Folk, the redshirt freshman, who brings him down. And now we are going to be looking at a 3rd down and 6 for the Utes. It's Mitchell. They go to the ground, and they get nothing. Monwokeji sniffs it out, and the Jayhawks get the stop. Just under 9 minutes to play. Kansas gets it back, looking to take the lead for the first time today. It's a screen for Ty Lord. Look at this play after the catch by Lord, who's been quiet on the ground, but makes a really nice play there with the ball after the reception. Lord gets it back and immediately loses 2, though. Xavier Miles brings him down, and Lord's inefficient season rushing-wise continues, although it hasn't all been his fault. That play, case in point. Poole loses a lot on the option. Bernard Conwell brings him down, and Clyde Poole's poor rushing game continues as it's now a 3rd and 17. On the run, he goes short. Isaiah Lamore does not get anywhere near enough for a first down. Kansas offense really has not looked good in the second half. We had the one nice drive, but we started past the 50. Here's Mitchell, trucking through defenders, moving forward nicely. He gets the first down there for the Utes. We'll see if they can regain the lead here. With 6.5 minutes to play, Wilson looks to throw it under some pressure with a strike for Nico Wynn, who gets it past the 35-yard line. 3rd and 15 now. It's going to be a screen. Devin Thomas with it, and he gets decked. Samuel Mpemba brings him down, and Utah's going to have to bring out the field goal unit. Bryce Keating will look to tack this one on from 50 to regain the lead with under 4.5 minutes to go. Kick is up, and it is good. So the Utes are back on top 24-21, and now we get to our biggest offensive drive of the season so far. Down by 3. Who knows if we get another chance after this. We've got to score to, at the very least, tie the game. Poole on 1st and 10, scrambling, looking to run with it. Has a block, gets the first down. Where has this guy been all day? One of his better runs of the afternoon, showing off his speed, although it still feels like he's been a little bit hesitant as a scrambler as he gets rocked on 2nd and long, but fires for Amani Law. His 7th reception of the game. That'll bring Kansas past the 50. What a throw by Poole, taking it like a champ in the pocket. On the read option, juke move, first down. That'll bring us to the 2-minute warning. Kansas is getting pretty close to field goal range if they're not already there. But we would certainly want to center the kick if it comes down to that. In an ideal world, we're scoring a touchdown, though. Here's a good run by Cornell Teamer. He gets around 10. So now we're definitely in field goal range, and we can use the clock to our favor. Let's try to be smart here. Nice throw and catch. That goes for a first down in the hands of Dorian Pepper, who brings Kansas in the red zone. For Clyde Poole, that is now 6,000 career passing yards. So a first down in the red zone. We're going to stick with the air. Poole steps up and gets nothing. I don't think they're going to count that a sack, but he didn't really gain much. We're going to choose some clock, though. No reason to rush this. We don't want Utah to really have much time with the ball. We're going to run it up the middle with Cornell Teamer. Now he goes to the outside. Gutsy decision, but it proves to be a pretty good one. He gets around 8. We want to keep this kick centered, but we can do that on 3rd down as we use our first time out. With 35 seconds left, 3rd down and 2. Up the middle. Big jaw. Jazir Tolbert barely gets it, but he does for the first down. Kansas would use their second timeout. First and goal. Teamer up the middle. Gets it to the 6, and Kansas will call their second timeout. Second and goal. Poole will throw it. Under pressure, he's got to get rid of it. Wants to avoid the sack. And now it's a third and goal with a little under 20 seconds to go. It's going to be a run up the middle. Ty Lord, he is close. Gets it to the 3, and we've got a decision to make. Fourth and goal at the 3. We can go for the field goal. I think it's pretty likely Anthony Escalante would make the kick, or we can risk it and go for the win. If we don't get it, though, we lose the game. I'm going to kick the field goal and take the points. We have not been good in short yardage spots today, and I want to give ourselves the chance in overtime to potentially win it. 20-yard field goal to tie. Escalante's kick is good, and we are knotted up at 24. I know it's a little bit against my forte to kick it in that scenario, but I felt like it was way too much of a risk to go for it in that spot. And so for the first time this year, we are headed to overtime. The Jayhawks throughout this series have been no strangers to overtime, delivering some wild moments. So these, of course, are the college overtime rules, and you guys know the drill if you've been around the channel. Tails never fails, and apparently Utah, who of course is the road team getting to choose the coin flip, did not get the memo. They chose heads, and ultimately it landed on heads. That's a rarity. So Utah's going to start on defense, which means our offense is going to come right back onto the field, and we've got to score first, coming off a field goal drive to tie the game. The offense has been very up and down today, not as consistent as I would have hoped for. Looking to change that on this drive. Poole evades the pressure, looking to run with it, and Clyde Poole gets the scramble for a gain of 11. Huge run for Clyde Poole, showing off that dangerous rushing ability that we know he has. On first down, Teamer up the middle, juke move, and he is close to the first down marker. It's a gain of 9. 2 plays in, Kansas already has it inside the 5. Second and 1, Tolbert does not get it. He got nothing there. And now it's a third and goal at the 1-yard line. Teamer gets it this time, bounces off a blocker, and he doesn't get it. Fourth and 1, we just kicked a field goal to end regulation, but I'm going to go for it in this spot. It's 1 yard, not 3. That's a big difference. Over to Tolbert, and he's got it. Jazeer Tolbert fighting for the first down, keeping the drive going. Second and goal. Ty Lord is in. And Kansas, for the first time today, takes the lead. Even though we have not run the ball well today, we ran it on every play that drive, and we had some good runs, some bad runs, but ultimately enough to take the lead. Offense does the job. Now it's the defense's turn. I think overall the defense has played quite well since the first quarter, but can they keep it going? Second and 9 for Utah, needing a touchdown to tie it, as it's Roddy Orr unblocked off the edge with his 4th sack of the year, as Isaac Wilson is brought down for a big loss, and it's now 3rd down and 16. Wilson looks to throw it, under pressure, sacked again. Seth Jennings leads the way. Dekias Brinkley was there as well. They will each get credited with half a sack. Samuel and Pemba in the backfield too, and it comes down to this. 4th and 21, game on the line. Kansas will only rush 4. Wilson goes short, and it's broken up! The Jayhawks survive here in overtime! 31-24, defeating Utah here at home, starting our Big 12 season with a record of 1-0. We've got a lot of work on. This definitely was not a pretty win, but we will take the W. No game in this conference is easy, especially against an unbeaten team like Utah, so we'll take the win even though it was not pretty. I'm certainly confused by the performance Clyde Poole had, because on one hand, that might have been his best game as a passer I've ever seen. I mean, he was throwing with anticipation, he was confident in the pocket, did not put the ball in harm's way, gave the receivers chances to make plays after the catch. But he was so bad. As a runner, he felt slower, he felt lethargic, he hesitated at times under pressure, just did not look like him. So as we take a look at the numbers overall, 21 of 26, 237, 80% completion percentage, and 2 touchdowns, pretty damn good. What's not good is the 2.6 yards per carry on the ground. It got better in the second half, I'll give him that, but it still overall was not good. Now, I will say the entire rushing offense was very suspect. Ty Lord only averaged 1.4 yards per carry, although he did get the go-ahead touchdown in overtime. Amani Law was terrific, particularly in the first half, 7 for 123 and a score. Rayshawn Jones also had a nice game, 5 for 54 and a touchdown. The offensive line had its good moments and bad moments. Calvin Clements benched for Kenyon Denbo, who I thought played fairly well. And then defensively started slow, but we really picked it up. Got to give them credit. We only had 3 sacks, but 2 of them came in the overtime period when we needed them the most. No turnovers, but it was good to see us have a defensive game without relying on turnovers, and that shout out Escalante with the game-tying field goal. Isaac Wilson was really impressive. I don't know why they only threw the ball 17 times, though. He was really good, I felt like. They really tried to get the ground game going, and, I mean, they didn't run it too poorly. Thomas, of course, had the crazy run. Mitchell was solid, but I still feel like they should have based more of their game plan around the pass. Defensively, I thought they did a pretty good job. They certainly held Clyde Poole in check. Their defensive line was really impressive, but the secondary struggled, and they did not get stops when they needed to. They were not clutch, which was ultimately the difference. So before we simulate the week, we'll be talking about some recruiting. This is going to be pretty quick, though, because in the last episode, we already went over how we're going to use our points here in week 4. So there's nothing really to talk about for this week because, well, we already did it in the last episode. So as I simulated the week, I'm curious to see where guys are after their visits. And Lane, Oregon, the corner, is down to 3 schools. We are in first, which is a big deal. That's where I want to be once you're down to 3. I don't want to worry about taking the lead, but rather keeping it. Quarterback Trey West is down to 5. We're in 3rd behind Kansas State and Iowa. All 3 of these guys currently in 1st. Oregon's battle is a little bit farther ahead, but Oklahoma is still very much in the mix for him, so we're going to keep giving him 50 points until his battle is over. For David Ibarra, huge week for the 2nd-ranked prospect in the country, but I would certainly watch out of Ohio State. They could definitely catch up. And then for Drew Page, again, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas State, couple of our rivals in the mix, but we're able to take the lead off of the visit, and hopefully that sticks. So I was able to open up some points. We're going to offer a couple visits in week 7. We have a few guys who are able to come for a visit. I really wanted to have Tevin Goings come, but he's visiting Missouri that week. So I tried to figure out who are the 2 players who really need it the most. We're going to start with Kevin Hodges, the edge rusher. I really like him, and we're in a very tight battle. Same can be said for Rashard Oakham. He's a very good player, and it's a very tight race. You might be wondering why we did not offer the visit for the 5-star Frederick Denbo. I kind of want to see how the visit goes with Houston in week 6, maybe, see where this battle is next week, because we would still be able to offer him a visit for week 7 anyway, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing. And this is how we're going to use the rest of our points. Nothing overly groundbreaking. For most of these guys, it's the same as week 4. I made a few small tweaks here and there, but really nothing overly notable to go over. So with that, we're going to make our way into week 4 across the rest of the country. We're going to start off in Cincinnati. Big 12 matchup between the Bearcats and the UCF Knights. Central Florida obviously won the conference last year, but they just do not look the same. Cincinnati, meanwhile, I think is a real sleeper in the Big 12. I don't know if they're good enough to win the conference, but they could certainly make some noise. They have a very good redshirt sophomore quarterback in Colby Hyman, who's one of the best offensive players in the conference. 38-32 your final. Hyman completes 76% of his passes, also runs for a score. As for UCF, they missed Ja'Cory Brown. There's not really any other way around it. Dylan Risk threw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns, but he was picked off twice. Texas heads to the Teal Turf, facing off against Coastal Carolina, and it looked easy for junior quarterback Noah Easy, pun intended. He carved up the Texas defense, and right as I was about to be back in on Texas, they do this. They lose to Coastal Carolina. 34-28 your final. The Shunts with the upset. Noah Easy was brilliant. 285 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, and then 100 on the ground and another score. Buda Simons led the way through the air with 5 for 115 and a touchdown. As for Arch Manning, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't good either. I feel like that's been the case with Arch Manning consistently. We're now in year 3 with him as a starter. When is there going to be a level of consistency with him? And if he wants to be a 1st or 2nd round pick, he's got to play better on a week-to-week basis, especially against teams like Coastal Carolina. Here's a big one. Maryland number 4, Ohio State number 2. This game ended up being as good as advertised, but the talent level of the Buckeyes was a little bit too much, and the reigning runners-up will fall to Ohio State 24-19. It seems like last year's really bad season for Ohio State standards might have been a fluke. They might actually get to go undefeated this year, largely because they don't play Michigan. But still, Julian Sayin had a solid game. Alfonso Patton on the ground was good. All the receivers getting involved. Let's head over to Duke as they face off against the Pitt Panthers. Duke has not played since their Week 2 matchup against the Jayhawks. But I think Duke might have gotten a little bit exposed in that game, and Pitt was able to take advantage. The Southpaw slinger, Julian Duggar, had a great game for the Panthers, helping lead them to the win, 42-14. Pitt undefeated, ranked number 12. Aaron Noland was really bad. Again, it feels like some teams watched the tape from our game and found the way to beat him. Julian Duggar, meanwhile, was fantastic. I think he's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the country, and I think this Pitt team could be really good if the stars align. They're already 4-0 and number 12, so it's certainly possible. Alabama heads to UNC, facing off against the Tar Heels. 24-0 lead for Alabama in the first half. Nearly evaporated, but they would hang on to win 24-18. At least they won, I guess. Look at the stat line for Tay Meadows. 5 carries, 3 yards, 2 touchdowns. Real hoops. I think North Carolina's been pretty solid this year since moving into the SEC. They've looked a lot better than they did a year ago. Michigan heads to Autzen, facing off against the Ducks, 2 teams who have looked rather disappointing this season, looking to get their campaigns back on track. Michigan in particular at 0-2, and C.J. Carr looked a lot better in this one, helping lead the Wolverines to their first win of the year. 4 interceptions in the first game against Buffalo, 2 more against Kansas. But here on the road, he looked a lot more comfortable, helping lead a comeback in the second half, winning 31-24 with 3 touchdowns. So Michigan does not make a quarterback change like I suggested they should have. And, well, I guess at least for this week, paid off. As for Oregon, they are very much missing Dante Moore. Austin Mack is a serviceable player, but, well, he is not Dante Moore. And then Arizona State, our opponent this upcoming week, will head to Tallahassee, facing off against the Florida State Seminoles. It seems like Luke Kromenhoek was rusty the first few weeks of the year after missing all of last year, but I think it's fair to say he is back. And in my opinion, he's the best quarterback in the Big 12 when healthy. After his tremendous sophomore season, he missed all of last year with an injury, was rusty to begin this year, but he looks real good now. 38-0 for the Seminoles. I think last year might have been a fluke for Arizona State. They nearly won the conference, but they have fallen back to the pits of hell. 3 touchdowns and just 5 incompletions for Kromenhoek, who also had 90 yards on the ground. Really, really good all-around game from the senior signal caller. Miami beats Georgia Tech. NC State back in the top 25 as they defeat Cal. Notre Dame wins. That's refreshing. Virginia Tech manhandles 0-4 SMU. Georgia over South Carolina. Oklahoma drops a spot with a competitive win against Akron. Nebraska loses to Minnesota. I don't know why the Cornhuskers were in the top 10 to begin with, considering their quarterback and running back were both top 3 picks. In the Big 12, look at TCU. They beat Arizona 34-3. TCU's legit. They're 4-0. They're playing some outstanding ball right now. And then across the rest of the country, West Virginia with an exciting win against Boston College. Boise State gets blasted by Appalachian State. They are out at the top 25. Northwestern beats Iowa by 1. Wisconsin manhandles Illinois. They are now ranked. Clemson back on the win column. Missouri with an upset. They defeat Texas Tech. They are not the only one of our rivals to have won. Kansas State wins 56-0, granted against an FCS opponent. So we move up in the rankings with Maryland losing and dropping to number 9, as expected. Otherwise, not a ton of movement, not an overly chaotic week. We had that wild week 1, and I feel like since then things have gotten a lot more simple. Hopefully this week we're going to have some more craziness. As for the players of the week, Iverson Hooks of UAB, and then John Henry Daly wins it defensively. That is not a good look for us. Sam Onotulu is still the Heisman frontrunner with Yvonne St. Jules moving up into second. So So that sets us up for our matchup here against Arizona State. The Sun Devils are 1-3 so far. We've played against Arizona State in each of the first 2 seasons at their place. Year 1, we won big. Season 2, we were way better than them, but we lost off of a missed kick at the buzzer from Anthony Escalante. And if you remember, it was a really close kick. He's really improved since then, of course, and we're hoping it's not going to come down to that again, especially considering the Sun Devils are playing some horrible football. Over the last 3 weeks, they have been outscored 89-20. That's pretty bad. This team is a year removed from the conference championship, but they are struggling right now. Lincoln Kineholz at quarterback, Darren Burley out of the backfield. Kyson Brown has had a really good season in the slot as a receiver. And then defensively, things have not really gone well. I do really like Romel Lewis Jr. He had 8 interceptions last year, tied for the NCAA lead. Arizona State was one of the few defenses who had more turnovers than us a year ago, but they haven't forced as many turnovers, and well, it has shown. We're going to make a few more changes here defensively. Dylan Countess, I thought played pretty well last week, but he will not play. Ben Bieria is going to see some more snaps. And then on the offensive line, I think we're going to stick with Kenyon Denbo at right tackle, and then we're going to have Kion Sample start at right guard over Benji Trahan, who I don't think has been that bad, but I feel like he's been called for at least 1 holding call per quarter. That's an exaggeration, but that's what it feels like. On to Week 5, number 4 Kansas against Arizona State. One of the lesser teams on our schedule, but keep in mind, these guys were really good last year. They scored 42 points in the conference championship game. Problem is they allowed 50. I think Arizona State was like 8-1 at some point last year, but then they completely collapsed. They lost out in the regular season. They lost in the conference championship. And obviously those struggles have gone into this year. Devin Murphy with a nice TFL as Teron Jean-Pierre is hurt. I think Jean-Pierre has given us some good flashes as a starter, but he is also very clearly made of glass. He cannot seemingly stay on the field. Brinkley and Jennings again, with the half a sack between the two of them, bringing down Lincoln Kineholz. These 2 edge rushers are playing some unbelievable football right now. 2 NFL teams are going to be lucky to get them this year, including Jennings, who is a junior, but with how well he's playing, I don't think he'll be back next year as a senior. Great field position for the Jayhawks is on 2nd and 2. Here's Amani Law with space. Good night. Touchdown, Kansas. Amani Law takes it to the crib. 33-yarder for the score, and the Jayhawks quickly take the lead. A 2-play drive for Kansas. Amani Law coming off a phenomenal performance last week, picking up right where he left off. I don't even think that was a great throw by Clyde Poole. It was clearly behind him. Law does a good job of recovering and then staying upfield, up the seam. A very good opening couple of minutes for Kansas with the sack and then the quick score. We lead at 7-0. Not even a minute and a half in, Sun Devils get it back. Here's Darren Burley running through defenders, still on his feet past the 40. That play was reminiscent of the Arizona State running back in year 1, a guy named Cam Scataboo. RPO wide open. A nice first down there. It's a gain of around 25 yards for the senior Colin Wyman. Arizona State moving it pretty well here on this second drive. Kineholz looks to throw it. Under pressure, sacked again. 5 sacks in 5 games for Roddy Orr. I was kind of expecting him to take over as the lead edge rusher next year, but with how well he's playing, coming off a 10-sack season last year at Iowa, he might be good enough to go to the NFL as well. 3rd and 23, Kineholz throws it away. Arizona State's going to punt it, and the Jayhawks get it back, looking to add to the lead. Here's Ty Lord with no room to go. These offensive linemen will not block for him, it seems like. 2nd and 21 after a holding. Poole scrambles. Look at all that space. Clyde Poole with the first down, and he is hit hard out of bounds. I'm surprised there was no flag. We have not seen that version of Clyde Poole since week 1. Hopefully he keeps it up. Teamer now to the outside past the 50. A gain of over 20 for the sophomore Cornell Teamer. Kansas is playing outstanding football on both sides of the ball right now. Very refreshing after the struggles last week against Utah. But Arizona State gets the sack there. Ramar Williams brings down Clyde, and we're looking at a 3rd down and 19. Poole under pressure. It's a screen here for Lord. Tries to follow his blockers, but he only gets around 5. So Kansas will punt it away. Sun Devils get it back. They needed to get a stop there. They didn't want this game getting out of hand too early. 2nd and 10, 3:27 to go. It's a jet sweep for Dragomir Raptos. Bounces off a blocker, breaks the tackle from Taylor Davis, and is wrapped up with a really nice maneuver there past the 50 before being brought down by Devontae Crispin. 2nd and 10 here for Arizona State. They've got another man in motion. This time it's a handoff for Darren Burley. Breaks a tackle. Burley down the sideline. 10-5 touchdown. Very reminiscent of the score last week by Devin Thomas. Again, the secondary has got to do a better job of finishing these plays and tackling. Burley's not the biggest back in the world, 5'10", 185, but he just ran through multiple defenders. Sam Mpemba, the senior linebacker, got launched. Kansas back with it, 3rd and 12. Look at Clyde. Past the 50, and he will slide forward for a first down. Clyde Poole looks so much more confident as a scrambler. I don't know what changed from last week to this week, but he is running with fire. Here's Ty Lord, tries to push it to the outside, and he loses a yard. Lord was able to push those plays last year. He just looks a little bit slower for whatever reason this season. And that'll wrap up the first quarter. We started really strong. Definitely slipped up at the end there. It's tied at 7. Arizona State's a lot worse than us. We should not have it, tied. We'll see what we can do in the second quarter as it's a 3rd and 10. Poole, under pressure, rolls out to the left, looking for a block, gets the first down inside the 10. 5 carries, 63 yards for Clyde Poole. This is much more of the rusher we are used to. He has been dynamic on the ground. As Lord gets it on first down, bounces to the outside, and he will waltz in for a touchdown. Ty Lord in for the score, and Kansas regains the lead. We certainly did not want to get Arizona State with a huge momentum boost, so to drive down the field and score a touchdown there is a big deal. That'll make it 14-7. Sun Devils back with it. Burley on 3rd and 1, breaks a tackle, but he is still going backwards. Samuel Mbemba gets his revenge. Mono Okeji and Brandon Hines are there as well, and Kansas will get it back. 2nd and 11, play action. Poole rolls out to the right, looks to run with it, has another first down, gets a late block from Law, and is out of bounds past the 40. There's been no hesitancy with Clyde Poole as a scrambler. When he finds a rushing lane, he's tucking it and running, but that pass is intercepted! Jumping the route for Amani Law, and the Sun Devils get it back. Tony, Luis, and Cuba with the interception, just the 2nd of the year from Clyde Poole. And right as our offense was really starting to get something going, bam! Big turnover for Arizona State. They have it only down 7 with 4.5 to go in the first half. The tight end, Mateo Santos, breaking tackles. He gets 35 yards. Kynholz has been able to air it out a little bit. Arizona State, I feel like, has not been able to move the ball down the field consistently, but they have had a handful of big plays. This looks like the Kansas defense from last year who allowed the big play too frequently. Here we go again. Colin Wyman up the middle. 3 catches, 53 yards. He's been impressive. 3rd and 1. Kynholz, incomplete. Misfires there, looking for the back of the end zone, and Arizona State will settle for the points. Interesting strategy when you're that close. They do have a very good kicker, though. 84 overall, redshirt sophomore Edward Denbo. No relations to Kenyon or Frederick, as the kick is good, and that'll make it 14-10. So Kansas gets it back, up by 4. I want to make this a comfortable lead going into half, and we've got a 2-for-1. We start with the ball in the second half. There's no excuse. Nice RPO screen there for Cornell Teamer. Kansas now at the 32. Poole looks to throw it under pressure, dances around, has some room, looking for blocks, gets the first down, gets a block from Law, jukes away from the defender, and gains 36. 8 carries for 123 yards in the first half for Clyde Poole. He didn't even have half of that many yards over the last 3 weeks combined. I mean, seriously, he looks like an entirely different player compared to what he's been over the last few weeks. This looks like freshman and sophomore Clyde Poole, who was one of the most dynamic rushers in the country. And if he can get that element of his game back, that would be such a big deal. At the 2-minute warning, Jayhawks up by 4. Here is Poole looking deep for the end zone. It's caught! A dart for Isaiah Lamore. and it's 21-10. The deep ball's always been an inconsistent part of his game, but that was a beauty from Clyde Poole. A phenomenal two-play sequence. Kansas up by 11. Arizona State needs to respond, being that the Jayhawks start with the ball in the second half, as there's a solid first down over to Kyson Brown. Down the field, that one is somehow caught by Trayvon Freitas, the junior. High points the football. He's only 5'10". Landers is bigger. He should have boxed him out and, at the very least, forced an incompletion. Following play, Kienholz up the middle. Wyman has it. 5 catches, 76 yards, and a beating. He took a big hit there, but Arizona State's moving it down the field again with a lot of chunk plays. First down, Burley wide open in the flat, inside the 10, breaks a tackle, and is wrapped up at the 5, as Arizona State will call another timeout, and they have another shot to make it a one-score game. They're struggling to punch it in, though. It's now a 3rd and goal. Looking for the end zone. What a catch! Touchdown! Arizona State, they're back within 4. It's Kyson Brown, the running back, who continues to be very impressive in his snaps at wide receiver. He's averaging nearly 70 yards per game through the air this season, and it's a one-score game again, 21-17. Kansas does have 2 timeouts, but they also only have like 20 seconds. Poole's running around, hoping to create some more magic, and this time it does not happen. Big sack by Earl Kurtz, and we're just going to let the first half clock run out. We're only up by 4 against what has been one of the worst teams in the conference up to this point. Not a great sign of things to come. Now, there have been some positives. We've ran the ball extremely well. Clyde Poole has fixed whatever the problems were with his scrambling. He's got 11 carries for 120 yards. But I don't think he can throw and run the ball at a high level at the same time. He hasn't been bad as a passer, 7 of 10, 96 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he also had the interception. Defensively, meanwhile, it has not been too good. We're allowing over 8 yards per play. I figured the defense would take a step back in conference play, but 17 points in the first half against Arizona State, who had only scored 20 points in the last 3 weeks combined. Not a great look. We've allowed a lot of big plays in this game, looking a lot like the defense from last year, which held us back at times. Kansas does start with the ball up the middle. That one is hauled in. Nice catch by Dorian Pepper for the first down. Now it is a 3rd down and 8. Poole under pressure, tries to make something out of nothing, and it is not going to happen. Still going, and he eventually throws it away. Clyde Poole's going to do something reckless if he keeps going backwards. I get it's working, and he's faster than everybody else on the field. But he has to be a little bit more cautious as well. That could have been a lot worse. Burley gets by the defender, breaks the tackle there, and on 3rd and long, he gets the first on a delayed handoff. Again, unacceptable tackling defensively. The Sun Devils, by the way, can take the lead with this drive as Brown gets decked. That's how you tackle. Santiago Herrera with a big hit. And now we're looking at a 3rd and 12 for Arizona State. Kienholz looking to throw it under pressure. He is sacked. Devin Murphy says he's too small, bringing him down to stall the possession. Murphy's been a little inconsistent this year after his 7-sack freshman season. Here's Clyde Poole up the middle, picking up right where he left off, scrambling for another big gain, getting the first down nearing the 30-yard line. We would march all the way down the field, and we now have it at around the 3. 1st and goal, Scotland Williamson in the game. Poole keeps it himself, and he is going to lose some yardage there. He loses about 3 or 4. It's Kurtz again. He has had a really good game, dominating his matchup with the left tackle, Nick Perkins, as Teamer loses yardage, and now it's 3rd and goal. Another nice play there by the Arizona State defense, as Poole looks to throw it, scrambles, steps up in the pocket, gets by a defender, breaks a tackle, and he's in for a score. Clyde Poole cannot be stopped on the ground. Is this the same guy who had like 20 yards against Michigan and was running around like a chicken with his head cut off in the first half against Utah? I mean, he looks like a completely different player as a runner. We needed that touchdown badly. We cannot let Arizona State continue to get back into the game. Intercepted on 2nd and 8. Samuel Mpemba leaping into the air to snag the football. And now Kansas is starting to get going. Strap them up! It's time to fasten your seatbelts as Kansas gets it back with great field position, up 28-17. We'll see if they can add to their lead off the incredible interception by Samuel Mpemba as Kineholz, not a great pass, but that was more so a really good defensive play. Jayhawks back with it. Here's Poole on 2nd and 9 under pressure, and he is sacked. Unable to get out of that one. It's Daly who brings him down, and now we are looking at a 3rd and 13. Late in the third, under a minute to go in the quarter. Poole calls it audible, looks to throw it. Gonna scramble again, and he will get the first down. Pushes himself down inside the 20. Arizona State has no answers. They've got to be keeping spies. They've been sending pressure, but Clyde Poole's just so much faster than these guys. A good quarter of football for Kansas. We're looking more like ourselves, up 28-17 with the ball in the red zone and a chance to make it a 3-score lead to start the fourth. 2nd and 10. Here's Ty Lord to the outside. Bounces off Teamer. Breaks a tackle. He's in. His 2nd touchdown of the game, and this time it will not count. Holding on the offensive line against Kion Sample. I'll give him credit, though. In his first career start, he's been really good, but that play was not one of them. 3rd and 6. It's broken up for Amani Law, who has not caught a pass since the opening touchdown. Did not mean to go no huddle. We are not trying to go for it on 4th down. 29-yard field goal from the last half for Anthony Escalante. I'm getting some bad flashbacks from the miss he had in Season 2. That one goes through. He is still perfect on the season. Quite a far cry from where he was when we were last in this building and he missed the game winner. His growth has been so fun to watch, even though he's a kicker. 3rd and 8. That will not go for a first down. It's Dragomir Raptos, yard or two shy, with 6 and change to go. It's not too early for Arizona State down 14. They will elect to go for it. Kineholz will look to throw it. Goes short. It is caught. 1st and more. Colin Wyman, over 100 yards, and they now have it past the 30. 2nd and inches for Arizona State. Touchdown makes it a 1-score game. With a receiver in motion. It's going to be a play action. Kineholz has a wide open man. It's Burley, and he is gone. Santiago Herrera, who's usually a very consistent player, missed his assignment there, and the Sun Devils will continue to hang around. Now they're going to go for 2. This is the correct analytical decision. Try to bring the lead down to 6 as it's a pitch. Wyman walks it in. Arizona State is within 6. Or are they? A massive holding penalty from Keona Pete, the senior tackle. That would push them back to the 12. Obviously, they will just take the extra point, and it's a 7-point game. There's a nice first down to start the drive here for Nicholas Scotland-Williamson as we move into chew clock mode. 2nd down, we're going to go to the air here. Poole looking short. Jazir Tolbert open in the flat, gets the first down. He is pushed out of bounds by Romel Lewis Jr., a highly projected corner in this year's draft. 2nd and 1, back to the air. Poole runs for it, gets the first down. He's a little bit banged up, though, but he's clearly feeling good enough to celebrate for first down. We're going to bring in Kerry Chosen at quarterback. I think he's been the best of the guys on the roster when he's been in the game. Look at Ty Lord, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling for the first down as Clyde Poole returns to action. Back to Lord, gets by the first defender, but loses a yard. Nice play there by Ramar Williams. That brings us to the 2-minute warning. Kansas up by 7. 2nd and 11. I don't know if we're quite in field goal range yet. We definitely want to get there. Poole scrambles, goes to the left side, has space, and he will get the first down. I didn't think he got it, but they give it to him. 23 carries, a career best, 204 yards on the ground for Clyde Poole. Teamer loses a yard. Terrell Butts is hurt. Arizona State's never going to use these timeouts, although for Butts, this is a bigger deal than just them not using a timeout. It's a torn pectoral, and he will miss the remainder of this season. So our starting center goes down for the year, and the timing is unfortunate, given that this is our 5th game. If this happened against Utah, we could have redshirted him and given him an extra year of eligibility. Lord gets hit hard on 3rd down, so Arizona State gets the stop. They only have to use 2 timeouts there. 33-yard field goal. Escalante, it is right down the middle. Never a doubt. 2 for 2 for Escalante, and the lead's at 10. So Arizona State's going to need a miracle. Up the middle, this is a good start. Broken tackle, off to the races. Trayvon Freitas, 85 yards to the house. A very quick drive for Arizona State, and they bring it within 3. Now it's time for the onside kick. If they don't get it, they are pretty much cooked. It's a long kick, still going. Bobble, pick it up! And Ty Lord recovers it at the last second. Thank God. I thought they were about to pick up that ball, and all they would have needed is a field goal to tie. 3rd and 7, Teamer with space. There's the clincher. First down for Cornell Teamer, and Kansas hangs on to win it 34-31. This game ended up being a lot closer than I expected going into it. Credit to Arizona State for giving us a battle, and to think if we did not have Ty Lord scoop up that onside kick at the end, Arizona State would have had over a minute, only down by 3. I mean, they could have really done something there. Field goal, very possible. Touchdown would have taken the lead. So I'm going to happily take the win here. We did not play a good game, and we've got a lot to work on. This type of performance against someone like Florida State, maybe even Colorado, maybe even Arkansas, this would not cut it. Defense was not good enough. Offense was not consistent enough, although there were definitely some positives on that side of the ball. I thought Clyde Poole was fine as a passer. He wasn't bad, but he was incredible as a runner. My concerns with his scrambling abilities are gone. He had 5 20-plus yard runs, career-high 204 yards. Ty Lord is still inefficient, but he made some good plays, had a couple big runs called back. None of our receivers caught more than 1 pass, nothing for Rajon Jones. 17 pancakes for Kion Sample. He will be staying in the starting lineup. But now we have a new hole with center as Terrell Butts is out for the year. Luis Roche played center when he was out, but that could be Benji Trahan's spot. He just lost the starting gig at right guard, but he was a center out of high school. Defensively, not great. I do want to give a shout out to Anthony Escalante, 2 big fourth quarter kicks. If he misses them, we're looking at an entirely different result. Arizona State battle. Darren Burley was really good. They had a few very long plays through the air. It looked like our defense from last year, which always gave up big plays, it felt like. The secondary in particular, I'm really disappointed with because the coverage was bad and the tackling was bad. They've got to do better. The secondary, I thought, was the strength of the team the first 3 weeks, and they have quickly fallen off. Nonetheless, I'll take the win, even though it was not pretty in the slightest. Let's take a look at some games across the country. We will start in Death Valley. The Tigers have never been good in this series, but at 4-0, a statement win against a team like Tennessee could really change that. Well, statement was made. Meet Lincoln Wagner, the redshirt sophomore quarterback of LSU. He wasn't all that impressive in this game in particular, but I think he's a really good player. I think he's going to be an NFL draft prospect. Maybe not this year, it's his first season as a starter, but certainly either next year or the following season. 31-21 LSU over the Vols. LSU is now 5-0. Being in the SEC, I feel like that should warrant a ranking. As for Tennessee, Philandros Spiro, the true sophomore, he's continued to impress me this year. I think he's going to be a really good prospect as early as next year. Pitt versus UAB. I'm intrigued by Pitt. They've played some good football as of recent, but look out for UAB. 4-0, currently ranked, and the Blazers would keep their strong season going. They would win this game, and they would win it big over the Pitt Panthers. So it's time to slow the Pitt train and start to rev up UAB. I thought last year would be their season, but maybe it's this year. Now for Pitt, obviously losing this game sucks, but there was some much worse news here. Julian Duggar, who played really well in the first quarter, got injured. He ended up suffering a fractured shoulder blade and will be done for the year. So Pitt loses their quarterback and probably any chance of a playoff run. UCF heads to Florida State facing off against the Seminoles. Florida State blew out Arizona State last week, and the Knights played really well in the first quarter. Then Luke Kromenhoek woke up, and he had one of the most impressive quarterback performances in recent memory. Forget best quarterback in the Big 12. He looks like the Heisman right now, and maybe the QB1 in this year's draft. 49-31. Croman Hook, 24 for 27, 561, and 6 touchdowns. Good Lord. Through the air, Loane McCoy, 8 for 316 and 4, 246 yards after the catch. Is that good? I feel like that's pretty good. Florida State looks really impressive right now. They are playing better than anyone in the Big 12, including us. That's going to be a fun matchup towards the end of the year. Oregon heads to Iowa, facing off against the Hawkeyes, and it really just does not look like it will be the Ducks' year. I mean, they just lost to Iowa, who just lost to Northwestern a week ago. 26-24, nice win for the Hawkeyes, who have had a pretty solid season, minus the loss last week. But Oregon's playing some really bad football. They are 2-3. The Ducks have made the playoffs in all 3 seasons of this series, one of the few teams, maybe the only team to have that honor. I think maybe a couple others have. Michigan's made it all 3 times. But I don't think that's going to be the case again this year. They do not look good. Miami, another team who's been disappointing this season, would continue their struggles as well, dropping this game to Boston College. I do want to say, though, what a catch by this guy flipping over the defender. But Miami's got some interesting questions to ask themselves. They've continuously gone to the transfer portal at quarterback, neglecting their former high recruit Keon Hokulani, who's now a junior. Hokulani hasn't really progressed in terms of rating. Maybe that's why the program is upset with him. But Brock Glenn is not it. Brock Glenn was very mediocre last year at Florida State, and we're seeing how good Luke Cromanhook is. Led them to the playoffs as a sophomore. Was injured last year. Glenn was not all that good. And then this year, Luke Cromanhook's playing better than any quarterback in the country right now. So if you're Miami, I think you've got to make a quarterback change. Texas beats South Carolina. I've got to give Arch Manning credit. He played a great game. Florida over Ole Miss. The Gators remain undefeated. As I mentioned, going into the year, I was very high on them. Notre Dame's playing a lot better. They beat UCLA. Maryland with a close win over Penn State. Bama puts 52 on Texas Tech. Kansas State wins again. They beat an FBS opponent this time, defeating Baylor. Maybe Kansas State isn't quite as bad as we thought. Arizona with a nice win over Iowa State. Utah with an exciting win over Arkansas. The Razorbacks only won 2 games last year, but I really think they're going to be competitive in the Big 12 with former 5-star quarterback Malik Page, who has a very similar type of skill set to that of Clyde Poole, and we're going to see them later in the year as well. Washington has quietly gone undefeated. Colorado State beat Wisconsin by 40. Holy moly. Missouri beats Florida Atlantic. A good day for our rivals. Kansas State and Missouri, who each were winless coming into the day, both went 2-0. As for the polls, we will... Oh my God, SMU got killed by Temple. SMU is such a good quarterback, yet they're like 0-5. Shout out to Preston Stone for keeping that team afloat. Anyway, as for the rankings, we stay at number 4. The top 3 teams ahead of us all had bye weeks. There's only 2 teams in the poll right now with 5 wins. One of them is us. The other is UAB, who just beat Pitt, who have to be the biggest losers of the week, dropping 5 spots in the rankings and losing their impressive quarterback for the remainder of the year. Only 5 teams undefeated left in the conference as Earl Kurtz wins the Defensive Player of the Week. Back-to-back weeks, we've allowed not just the Conference Player of the Week, but the National Player of the Week defensively. Miles Steele, the favorite for the Heisman, Onatulu, drops to 2nd. Luke Cromanhook honestly should be in 1st, even with the slow start he had earlier in the year. I mean, for Christ's sakes, the guy threw for nearly 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. So next episode, we continue the in-conference slate. 1-3 Oklahoma State, 1-3 UCF. I'm especially fascinated about the matchup against them. I mean, they just allowed the quarterback performance of a lifetime. Who knows what Clyde Poole will be able to do. So that'll wrap up the episode. 2 ugly wins for us, but 2 wins nonetheless. Hard to complain with that when you add to the W column, even when the team was not great, in my opinion. Make sure to leave a like. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out. Rock Chalk.